Hey swarmers, welcome back to the Hive. We hope you are crushing those sustainability goals. Today, we want to honor the passing and celebrate the life of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, affectionately recently known as the Notorious RBG. After serving on the Supreme Court of the United States of America for 37 years, she passed on September 17th due to complications from metastatic pancreatic cancer. Born Joan Ruth Bader in Brooklyn, New York in 1933, her mother, Celia, was actively involved in her education until her passing the day before her high school graduation. RBG attended Cornell University, where she met her husband, Martin Ginsburg. She graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Government in 1954 as the highest-ranking female student in her class. She was enrolled in Harvard Law School before transferring to Columbia Law School when her husband took a job in New York City. She graduated in 1959, tied first in her class. In spite of strong recommendations from law professors at both Harvard and Columbia, Ginsburg faced employment discrimination due to her gender. In 1960, Supreme Court Justice Felix Frankfurter rejected Ginsburg for a clerkship position due to her gender, and on becoming a professor at Rutgers Law School in 1963, she was informed she'd be paid less than her male colleagues because her husband already had a well-paying job. Over the next number of decades, RBG's legacy for women's rights was unprecedented. In 1970, she co-founded the Women's Rights Law Reporter, the first law journal in the US to focus exclusively on women's rights. From 1972 to 1980, she taught at Columbia Law School, where she became the first tenured woman and co-authored the first law school casebook on sex discrimination. She was appointed to the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia in 1980.
The law is a consuming love for me, and I enjoyed everything that I've done in it. Lawyering, teaching, and now judging. I didn't think specifically about becoming a judge because, frankly, I didn't think it was possible.
And finally, the Supreme Court in 1993. While the core of her legacy is centered on women's rights and gender equality, she also supported environmental protections and helped establish the Supreme Court precedent that empowered the EPA to regulate the greenhouse gas emissions driving climate change.
What do you make of the endangerment finding that greenhouse gases have severe effects at the local level? That I think the endangerment finding is not before us today. The endangerment finding is that they exacerbate ground level ozone and smog.
In 2001, in what's considered one of the High Court's most important environmental rulings, RBG joined a unanimous court in ruling that the EPA cannot consider implementation costs when deciding on national air quality limits for smog, soot, and other major pollutants. These EPA regulations are credited with saving and improving millions of lives. For the last 2 decades, Ginsburg consistently voted in favor of broader Clean Water Act jurisdiction, first passed into law in 1972. In 2001, she joined the dissent over the ruling of Solid Waste Agency of Northern Cook County versus United States that isolated ponds and wetlands are out of federal reach. The 4-1-4 split case of Rapanos versus United States in 2006 had Ginsburg again on the side arguing for sweeping federal jurisdiction over any water feature. In 2007, RBG was with the 5-4 majority in Massachusetts versus EPA that said the Clean Air Act gave EPA the authority to regulate greenhouse gases, the High Court's first ever ruling on climate change. In the 2011 climate case, American Electric Power versus Connecticut,
Could EPA regulate and set standards for existing sources.
Ginsburg ruled against states and private entities wanting to sue private power companies to set a cap on their carbon dioxide emissions. But this was seen to confirm that the federal government can and should be acting on climate change. In 2014, Ginsburg led a 6-2 majority that reversed a lower court decision and upheld an Obama administration rule limiting the air pollution from coal plants that floats across state lines, thus saving a regulation credited with helping shut down some of the nation's dirtiest power plants. Earlier this year, RBG was again in the majority that decided pollution traveling into waterways via groundwater can be subject to the Clean Water Act, opening up polluting companies to potential liabilities. Through her expansive mind, sound temperament, and unwavering judicial integrity, she plied the Constitution as a living instrument of American life, lending it meaning in the life of us all, said Gina McCarthy, president of the Natural Resources Defense Council and former EPA administrator. And we couldn't agree more. Rest in power, RBG. We are so thankful for your service to the Constitution and the people of America. Now, it's our time to pick up the torch. Please like, share, subscribe, and make sure you're registered to vote. It is so important. Thank you for joining us, Swarmers, and we'll see you next time.